The automotive industry. What effects will the lack of technicians have on the automotive industry? By Rebecca Jones. During the 2008 to 2010 recession, people felt that the end of the American automobile industry was here. Thanks to the intervention of the government, we were able to skate by what could have been a catastrophe. People didn't realize, though, that while the dealerships were hurting, the automotive aftermarket was booming. The average cost of a new car in 2019 is just over $37,000, making repairs the way to go for most automobile owners. The average age of vehicles in the United States is climbing as technology gets better. There's more than one car for every American driver. More new cars hit the road, plus cars getting older, as these aftermarket businesses seeing great returns. The aftermarket creates between 1.5 and 2% of the gross domestic product. The automotive industry makes about 60 million cars and trucks in a year and is responsible for nearly half of the world's consumption of oil. They directly employ roughly 4 million workers and many more indirectly, and the industry has been going strong for over 100 years. Some of the industries that are directly affected by the automotive industry are the aftermarket parts, trucking, manufacturing, gas and oil, and the tire industry. There are many reasons for the shortages, but the biggest ones are the career path is murky, pay plans are highly variable, and the hours are not great. Skilled techs are hired away from automotive services to the oil services because they can pay better and generally have better benefits. There are fewer high schools offering automotive shop programs, which further diminishes the potential supply of techs. Even when such classes are available, there is often a disconnect between what they teach and what the service departments actually need. The job requires a deep commitment to learning and the necessary mechanical and digital skills to get the job done. The tools of the trade are expensive, and a handheld scanner for a vehicle can cost up to $10,000 and may even be brand specific, meaning that it will only work for one type of vehicle like Ford or GM, and then trying to get today's tech-oriented youth into a profession that requires getting their hands dirty can also be a challenge. The shortage of automotive service technicians is indisputable, even as the industry debates its numerous causes. The gap threatens the financial health of all repair shops. The law of averages. Today's typical dealership service technician is usually a man that is roughly 40 years old and has around 19 years of experience in his field. Their earnings can range from $30,000 all the way to up over $100,000, depending on experience and speed. They usually get paid by the job, not the hour, and have been at their current job for about 4 years. Their typical work week is just over 40 physical hours, and they will spend most of the day on maintenance and light repairs. They have spent anywhere from $5,000 to $50,000 on their own tools and toolbox and would not recommend this profession to their friends. The turnover rate is high according to NADA at 27%. Experts estimate that a typical technician generates $1,000 in gross revenue per work per day. This means that a job that's unfilled for 90 days means a potential loss of $90,000 to a dealership's fixed operations, and smaller margins on new and used vehicle sales, and finance and insurance already are putting extra revenue pressures on fixed ops. Next, I wanted to look into validating the shortage. So this is an opposite look of where I've been coming from because I wanted to see it from every angle. I found a market research study done by AAIA Market Research on the technician shortage by attempting to validate the belief of the technician shortage and to quantify its extent. Validating the claim was harder than they had expected for many reasons. There are many methods to analyze a labor shortage, all of which could give different outcome. The many different methods used can be subjective and look unique to an individual consumer. For example, time to get a repair done could signify a shortage, but the acceptable time of a repair should take is different for each consumer. You may expect to see such things as higher labor rates, decrease in the quality of work, and longer repair times, as employers would have to offer more to get technicians into their shop, and they may not be as qualified as they should be, resulting in vehicles not being fixed in a timely manner and professional fashion. They also take a look at consumer complaints to see if there was a spike there. They actually found that consumer satisfaction had improved for the industry. The cost of repairs has seen 46% increase, which is actually less than physicians, hospital, airline, legal, financial services, and college tuition, so there's not a significant spike to reflect the shortage there either. And repairs aren't as regularly needed due to parts lasting longer, or so they said. Overall, the study did not conclusively validate the shortage. There are always different ways to look at raw data. One thing I did not see taken into consideration for the study was the highly competitive nature of the industry, which could largely account for the lack and rise in wages, as well as the rise in consumer satisfaction. I found a much larger amount of information pointing to the lack of technicians than I could the other way. I chose to include this as a way to include all of the information possible when looking at the raw data. The opportunity cost of the tech shortage is huge. Depending on how they proceed with this problem, what they're seeing right now is that dealers are not building or expanding their dealerships because of the shortage. Repairs are getting more and more expensive and more time consuming as the wait to get your automobile in will be longer, and there will be many shortfalls in the industry if the problem is not fixed in the future. We'll have to wait and see what the entire trickle effect will look like, but we can be sure it will hit many industries, both domestic and foreign. The last thing I wanted to show you is this graph I found on supply and demand of technicians. You can see right around 1993 is where the demand started to get higher than the supply and has stayed that way regularly all the way through 2000. I couldn't find a graph that showed from 2000 to current, but the data is there to support it, that the gap keeps getting larger and larger. Thank you for your time, and have a good night.